Hello.
Hello. How are you?
Oh, I'm good. I'm in the part of labor. I'm in the part of pregnancy where my back just really hurts. I'm having really a ton of pelvic pain and I'm just trying to find ways to alleviate that cuz I feel like I have so much more time to go and it's just been really difficult moving around and playing with the baby.
Mm-hmm.
She'll do this thing where she pretends to sleep on the ground and she wants us to be on the and she just wants us to play on the ground all the time and it's so hard to be on the ground. And I did reach out about PT after we actually talked about it, I think last episode. So I reached
Yeah.
out to them and I was like, "Can I just have a referral for PT?" And so they referred me and I got a call and they were basically like, "Oh, we don't have anything until the end of January." And I'm like, "Well, by that time, I'm
Mm-hmm.
gonna have a baby in a week or two, so that doesn't help me." So they said they would send me the script and I could call around. It's just a tough time because we're about to go into the holidays. And so there's probably not a ton of availability, but we'll see. I'm gonna
Well,
keep
off the side record, I found some through Team Rehab. So,
Oh, you did?
yeah.
Did
So
you
there,
go
if
to the
there's
team
one,
rehab before?
yeah,
Yeah.
just a different location. So there might be one by you.
Yeah, I know there's a team rehab. I don't think there's one in mine, but I think there's one in the city over.
Yeah.
So I might consider that. I also like the place I went to last time, so I might call them because they were trying to get me into the hospital system, so I would do it right at the
Mm,
hospital. And it
okay.
sounded like they only had one person there. So I don't know. But she kept saying "Oh, Christine is not available." I'm like, "Oh, okay."
You're like, okay, because I know who Christina is.
Yeah. But that's kind of where I'm at. It's just been I just feel huge and I just feel way more restricted by my pregnancy this time. Now, of course, I didn't have to move in the same way that I did last time because I don't have a toddler because I didn't have a toddler, but it's been it's
Yeah,
been
there's
rough.
a lot more movement with a toddler.
Uh-huh. Yeah. And then I did talk to a doula. So I know we talked about this a little bit offline, but I talked to a doula. I had an initial meeting conversation and it went really well. And she provided a lot of services for the price because I know they can kind of varies depending on where you live and who they are and so many different things. And she was like an independent type of person. So she is through studio, but I've kind of reached out to her independently. But I booked her actually Friday. I ended up booking her, and then she's going to come out to my house on the 19th of December. So we're going to have
You're
our
bringing
initial,
home.
yeah, our initial meeting. And she said, because she does two meetings before birth, she'll be there for the full birth. She does a meeting after, and then she calls you after a few weeks when postpartum depression, anxiety, rage, all of that is heightened or at the most heightened point. So she provided all of that within her package, whereas some you would they would just provide birthing support for the cost that I'm getting her to do all of that. So
Yeah.
I thought it was a pretty good deal. I really liked her talking with her. She already provided me some good information. Remember how I told you I decided to induce at 39 weeks because they told me about that research where basically if you induce at 39 weeks, you have um, a lesser chance of going to C-section,
Hmm.
and that's kind of what made me informed my decision to induce. Well, I was bringing that up to my doula, and she was basically like, "Yeah, that's called, I think it was called Arrive or something, Arrive study," and she was like, "They've never been able to replicate it, like, and so they've never been able to replicate it, but then it's also been taken as truth in all of these different hospitals."
Mm,
Even though it's is it because you're not able to replicate this research? How is it, standing on its own, basically? So I thought that was really interesting. Yeah, so that's kind of where I'm at with pregnancy. And then Eleanor's been doing this really cute thing where I don't know where she got this from, but she'll be downstairs and she'll be like, "Idea." And she puts her hand to her ear. She'll say, "Idea." And then we'll say, "What's your idea?" And then she'll just say something like, her thing lately is, let's pretend to eat grass. So then she gets on the ground and she's pretending to eat grass. Or she'll be like, let's roll around on the ground in mud like pigs. Or let's crawl around like a cat. So like she keeps, so we'll do something, right? And then she'll do it
Mhm.
again. Idea. It's just so funny. I'm like, where did you get this from?
Why does it make me think of, like, Blue's Clues or
Yes.
something? Like,
Yeah,
oh.
it's super cute. It's like a literally, but she's also been I, d- I don't know if Axel's been this way, or I know he's like a month behind, so maybe he'll be like this, or maybe it's something we're doing. I don't know, but she's trying to manipulate us at bedtime and nap time to like delay, and she's like a master at it, you know?
Mm. Mhm.
Where she's like, she knows our routine. We're like, okay, we're gonna read a book, and then she'll sit, but then she'll get down and she'll like walk around. I'm like, okay, we're gonna read a book, and so I've gotten to the point where I'm really have to like lay down the law. If she does it once, I'm like, okay, if you get back down, we're not gonna read a book before nap time. So it happened yesterday, and she just like broke down crying, and I said, I know you want to read a book, but you weren't allowing me to, and now we're in bed. Like,
Yeah.
so it's been like both nap less, but like bedtime, it's been taking us like an extra half hour to get her like down.
Mm. I feel like we went through that phase, but he would use eat. And so every time we would, like,
Yeah.
pick him, because he can cry if he wants to, but I pick him up and take him into the bedroom, and, like, we're going to bed, we're doing,
Yeah.
the bed things, whatever. And usually he'll cry for, like, maybe a minute, and then he'll just stop because he's
Mhm.
distracted with something else. But he would always, like, we would hold him because he didn't want to be in the bed saying goodnight, so he wanted to, like, hold and kiss, whatever. And then he'd be like, eat, eat, eat. And I'm like, no, you just ate and you have your
Mhm.
milk. Like, so he would play that game, like
Yeah.
the eating game. Now, I've noticed recently he goes to bed and he figured out how we have this little bear in his crib that you press the hand and it does like a little twinkle, twinkle, little star.
Mhm.
And so we always would press it before he went to bed. Well, now he'll just lay there in the dark and keep pressing it over and
Pressing it.
over. Like, he'll press it and then roll over to, like, sleep, and then it'll turn off, and then he'll go back and press it and, like, roll over.
You should
So,
get, they have like sleepy Tonys where it plays like sleepy time music. You
oh,
should
really?
get like a
Mm,
sleepy Tony.
yeah. So,
I know a lot of people use a Tony box for bedtime.
yeah. I was talking to my friend about that, and I was like,
Mhm.
well, we'll see how he does with it, but
Yeah.
if he doesn't need it right now, we'll
Yeah.
see.
Yeah.
But yeah, so he would always fight us with the eating. He wouldn't
Mhm.
fight us with anything else.
Yeah. It's fun. What's going on with you?
Well, I saw your topics for your, and I figured I would touch base because I'm kind of like talking about the same topics,
Yeah.
just in a different realm. Physical therapy. I think I had talked about my tailbone
Mhm.
previously, about how that's really hurting. Not so much my pelvic floor, like what you're describing, but my tailbone from, I think, postpartum issues that I had. And so I had talked to the doctor about it. They gave me a script for PT, and I went last week or the week before because, yeah,
To
I was
PT already?
traveling last week.
You like
Yeah, I
already
went to
went
my
to a
first
session? Oh,
one, and
nice.
then I traveled, so I couldn't
Mhm.
go. But they are limited in what they can do because I am pregnant. So they're
Yeah.
not using like the pelvic floor wave chair or the needles or anything else because you are pregnant. So it's more like exercises and things like that that you can do.
Yeah.
So we kind of did like the initial discussion just to kind of see how everything's going, what my main areas of concern are. And I think my biggest one is like if I'm laying on my back,
Mhm.
like let's say you're getting an ultrasound or you're just laying on your back watching TV in bed or something. If I lay on my back for like 5-10 minutes, then I am like immobile. Like I
Mhm.
can't, and I can't move, and it's really hard for me to like go to the side. Like it takes like all of my energy just to roll to the
Yeah.
side. Well, what she made a comment about was that like I was kind of like, moving my arms, then moving my hips to the side, and she wanted me to use more of my core to like take all of that and move at the same
Yeah.
time. So I've really been focusing on that, and that takes a lot of the pain away. So,
Isn't it crazy how like, I don't know why this happens during pregnancy. Well, I know why it happens, but like after pregnancy, we like forget to use our core muscles.
Yeah.
Because
It's
I
like
noticed
weird.
myself still doing it because I went to PT for my back, and that was like one of my major things is I was no longer using my core, putting everything on my back and my butt, and I really have to think about it. Like, okay, tighten your core while you're doing
Yeah.
this.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
it's like this should come naturally.
Yeah. Well, that's
But
good that you've kind of identified.
yeah, so it's really that tailbone, that lower
Mhm.
tailbone, lower back area. But yeah, I again, like you said, it's holidays, so I have like limited times that I'm going, but at least I'm doing something and then I'm trying to do
Yeah.
them at home. Like I literally
Yeah.
make Austin do them with me at nighttime before bed because I'm like, hey, you're getting some stretches in anyway.
Yeah.
He's like, how do you do that? I can't do that. I can't bend that way. Ugh. But I also did talk to a doula, and the specific doula that I had talked to was through a center, but
Mhm.
she's going to be like out of town on
Yeah.
my due date and 4 days post my due date. So I still haven't figured out, and she's like totally like, if you feel more comfortable going with someone else, it's totally fine, whatever. So we haven't really figured out what we're doing with that yet, but
Mhm.
she did also offer like she would come to your house twice before birth,
Mhm.
and like basically you have like unlimited access to her between now and
Yeah.
birth, whatever.
Mhm.
And then during birth and laboring, or even like when you're in labor, she's going to come to your house first and then go with you to the hospital. I was like, well,
Oh, yeah, mine
I
said
live
that
like
too.
an hour from the hospital, so I don't know. We'll see how that plays out. And then postpartum and lactation support because she has lactation background as well.
Oh,
So
yeah, mine might have that too.
yeah. So it was interesting to learn about everything that they offer and then also see the different side of like just telling my story, right?
Mhm.
Like what really needed to happen and what I could be more informed about and where I could push back. Not necessarily push back, but obviously the doctor's always giving you like what's the word? They're giving you everything because they don't want to miss something and have you come back on them because this happened, during your
Right.
birth, whatever.
Yeah.
Don't know the word for it, but yeah, they're always being cautious. So it's just
Yeah.
interesting to hear a different perspective. But yeah, we don't know what we're doing yet with
So
that.
there's another person through the center, right? And that would be the backup. Like, what if you went directly to her and like had a conversation and just like booked that person instead?
So there's backups through the center, but then there's also like if she does it personally outside of the center, she has
Mhm.
specific backups for her
Okay.
that she
Yeah.
chooses.
Yeah.
However, like she's very much a person that like if she's going to take you on, she wants to like be there because like that's the whole point
Mhm.
of her being there.
Yeah.
So she gave me some, you know, I can contact the center, go through that, some
Yeah.
other names, things like that. But yeah, I mean ultimately like I really like you, but I also feel like I want someone that would
Yeah.
be available at that
It's
time.
hard to know that like, okay, you may
Yeah.
not even be. I mean, it's a high chance you may not even be there for
Yeah.
the birth.
Yeah. So, it'll be interesting to see what we end up coming up with, but
Yeah. Or do
yeah.
you know if you're leaning more towards doula or not doula, or you're still just because you're in the early stages of talking to people?
I'm kind of like half and half, right? So
Yeah.
I'm leaning more towards like I really want to doula, but also like I feel so much more confident going into this that
Mhm.
I can be more educated. And then what if it happens super fast to the point where like I'm literally in labor and I get there and I push him out and then she comes, I would
Right.
still have her postpartum. So I'm just kind of weighing those kind of
Yeah.
decisions and like what I really want, but also like making sure I have the knowledge on the back end as well.
Right.
Cause I obviously they can bring knowledge that I don't have and be an extra support person. But
Right.
yeah, it's just I don't know.
Yeah.
I feel like I want to talk to more people before I make a decision.
Yeah, yeah. I think too, like what really helped me like decide is like I really know what I want my birth plan to look like. And I feel like I would have trouble achieving it on my own.
Hmm.
And because I mean, my circumstances are very different from yours. I haven't
Yeah.
had a vaginal birth yet. I haven't gotten a Medicaid. I haven't done all these things that I like want to do. And so I feel like I need that support. Whereas, like, I don't know, I think I'd be the same if I was in your position. I'd probably be 50-50 because it would be really, really great to have that support. But I already know my body can do it and I've done it and I, you know,
Yeah,
can
and
get
now I
myself
kind of
there.
understand, oh, this is the
Hmm.
stage that I was at. This is what that meant,
Hmm.
So,
Right.
yeah. But I
Yeah,
I feel like there's so much more to still learn too. So,
for sure. Yeah.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
hard. And then we had a family get together just like Christmas and Thanksgiving. And so we opened some presents. And I mean, just thinking back to when Axel turned 1, like, right, like he would open some presents, but he hasn't really opened presents since then.
Hmm.
And the way that he opens presents and the excitement and the fact that he can actually rip it open now, oh, it's going to be so much fun,
I
like
know. I'm
this
so
season.
excited for. Uh, I'm so excited for. She's like seen some gifts because some people have brought some stuff over. I haven't. I've wrapped everything, but I haven't put it under the tree, and she's like excited to open. So I'm
Oh,
excited to
yeah.
see that too.
Yeah. So I'm excited to see it because just the like their little faces and that, oh my
Hmm.
God, wow.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I know. Is that better? I don't know why my. I don't know if I
Turn it,
need like
should
an.
you turn it off and turn it
There
back
we
on?
go. It doesn't let you turn it off
Oh.
while we're recording.
Oh, okay. Okay. Well, that's basically what's going on with me.
I feel like we're in a very similar boat. So
We
we'll
are.
keep everybody updated on like all what that looks like. It'll be interesting to like talk about my doula perspective afterwards. But it's something that's been suggested to me by like almost everybody I talk to going into labor and VBAC. So
Well, and it's expensive, but it's not
mhm.
like horribly expensive. And
No,
if you think about it, like you're already spending X amount of money in the hospital pushing the baby out, like
right.
to make sure it goes well and you don't come home like
With trauma.
an emotional wreck and trauma, then yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's worth it.
So,
Okay. Well, welcome everybody to the Mom Era podcast. My name is Megan.
and I'm Alyssa.
Today we're diving into a topic that so many of us think about the moment we see those two pink lines or blue, depending on what test
Yeah,
you
whatever
use,
test.
in its labor. So, the idea of giving birth can feel really overwhelming and even a little scary at first. I was very scared with my first. I didn't know what that was going to look like. But what if we told you that with a little bit of preparation, both in your body and your mind, you can go into labor feeling strong, empowered, and confident? So this is work I definitely failed to do with my first, and it did cause me to feel very out of control and ultimately lead to a very traumatic birth experience, which I've had to like work through since. Alyssa and I did talk about our birth story. So if you're interested in hearing about that, I believe it's episode 2. So you can go back and listen to how it all went down for us. But this is something I think is really top of mind for this pregnancy for me because I didn't do that work the first time and really regret it.
Yeah, yeah. I think there's so much like you like just kind of mentally go into it and you're like, oh, my body will do what it needs to do.
Hmm.
But we definitely want to shift the conversation from fear to confidence. So we don't want you to go in being nervous, being scared. Our bodies are made for this. And today we're going to talk about practical ways to prepare yourself. So physically, mentally, emotionally, so that when birth, labor does happen, you feel ready and capable when the big day comes. We're not providing any medical advice. So if you have any medical concerns or birth plans, goals, make sure you discuss that with your physician and your care team.
Yes. Yes, yes, yes. We're just kind of providing what we've learned along the way, especially this time around, that has helped us to this point.
Hmm.
I think one of the best things that you can do for yourself in preparation for labor is to understand the labor process. I think Alyssa and I both talked about it, a little bit, how we had no idea what that process looked like. There were points during our labor where we're like, I think you had mentioned it. You're like, I was entering the transition phase, but I had no idea. I could have made a different decision if I would have known. So just really understanding that. And then the effects, positive and negative, of medical intervention. So, we're not going to go over the labor process in this specific episode. I think we could probably do that in a different one, but we do want to emphasize the importance of truly understanding that process. Not only does this give you a roadmap for what's ahead, it also lets you feel more in control of the decisions you may have to make in the hospital. So, when you understand the stages of labor and the reasons behind each potential medical intervention, you're in a much better position to make choices that feel right for you.
When you go into labor knowing what to expect, you're more likely to feel empowered to say yes or no to options without feeling pressured or anxious. I know this is a big one just because when you don't know and the doctor's telling you, like, hey, this is a
Hmm.
medical thing, you're just like, okay, sure, whatever.
Hmm.
um,
Yeah.
the confidence can really help reduce any trauma in birth because you're making informed decisions and you're less likely to feel like things are just happening instead of understanding why you need to
Hmm.
make this decision or what you're actually doing.
Yeah.
You're part of the process, fully aware of what's going on, and that can make a world of difference.
Yeah. For me, I felt very out of control. At no point did I feel confident in the decisions I was making. And I ultimately had a C section. And it's something I've really had to work through because I felt, and I've put a lot of blame on myself because I was so undereducated and uninformed, and I made decisions based on what like the healthcare professionals were telling me. And I don't think they had any negative, like, I don't think that they were doing anything or trying to do harm, I should say. They
Yeah,
were
they
trying
didn't
to
have
move
bad
my labor
intentions.
along. They don't know my body. They don't know how I was going to react to medications, but I also don't feel like they fully give you the picture, right? They'll say, hey, we're going to break your water. But I didn't know, and they didn't tell me that then I was on like a timeline, right? I didn't know induction for a healthy pregnancy without complications was really debated. That was brought to me. I told my healthcare professional I didn't want a C section. He's like, well, the research says this. You should really get induced at 39 weeks. So I'm like, oh, wow. Like, if there's research behind this, like, I trust you. I'm going to move forward. But I didn't I didn't know. I didn't research myself. I kind of put all my trust into a group of people who really just want to get me to the finish line in the healthiest way, which is great. But also, they're always going to lean on the more like cautious side, and so. And they're always going to. They're a hospital. They're for profit. They want to make money. They want to get you in and out as quick as possible. And that is also something that they may unconsciously kind of include when they're telling you things, right? Because it is a for profit model. It's not like you can just hang out in the hospital forever. It's just
Hmm.
the reality of it. So, this is something I've been spending way more time on, is just learning the different um, phases of labor and what that looks like and what I should see in my body and that kind of thing.
Yeah, I feel like I had done like a very short dive into like the stages of labor, like for Axel, but the only thing that I did know was okay, contractions are going to get faster, closer together, and stronger.
Hmm.
Like that was all I
Yeah.
knew about like labor, and then you have like these contractions, and then you push out a baby. Like
Right. Right.
so. I feel like my experience was very. I was additionally or also trying to follow like the medical advice of the doctors, and I felt very kind of in the unknown because also
Hmm.
the first time having a baby, my doctor, like my OB that I had been seeing my entire pregnancy, was out of town when I was giving birth. So I talked to a new doctor the first time I've met her. And then, you know, we're at the stage of going to an ultrasound and they're like, oh, well, your fluid looks low. You need to go be induced. um,
Hmm.
but what does the fluid low mean?
Right.
What like he was still in my body for another 4 days before he came out, so it wasn't like emergent at that point.
Right.
So those things were just like interesting to me. It felt very like they were coming in and telling me what was going on,
Yeah.
but then I would get to the stage of like okay, they're breaking my water, but they didn't say like, oh, hey, we're breaking your water. We need to get the baby out. Or, okay, you're at like a 9. We're going to start pushing. But I didn't feel the
Mhm.
need to push. I didn't feel that he was down in my pelvic floor. So I'm pushing for no reason and wasting energy.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Also, like, I didn't know. I think maybe they had said like to Austin or something that they were using the vacuum, but I didn't know that they were pulling out the vacuum and like using it. And at the third try, if it didn't work, we were going to a C-section. Or I didn't even know they gave me an episiotomy until like at the end when they were like sewing me up. Like, so
That's
things like
crazy.
that. Like,
I thought you had to get, like, consent for that stuff. Or
I
they just decide in the moment?
I don't know. I guess
Yeah.
like, I mean, they could have told Austin, or they
Yeah.
could have said it out loud and maybe I didn't hear it. I don't
Yeah,
remember.
your brain is in,
Yeah.
chaos.
And I would just like, like felt super like out of my control, but also I felt like in shock just going
Mhm.
through that. And I talked about that before, but it
Yeah.
was just it was a lot. It's not what I was
Mhm.
expecting it to be because I'm expecting like, okay, they know what to do. They're going to take care of me, which they did. There was nothing negative about that. My body's just going to naturally do this because this is how I was
Yeah.
built, and I'm just gonna like work through it. I don't,
Mhm.
without preparing anything. So
Yeah. Yeah, and the medical intervention piece is interesting to me because, like, I went in not knowing that a lot of the medications that they use to induce labor can cause a lot of stress on the baby. And so when it was happening for me, especially like the induction meds, I thought my body was doing something wrong. And so, like, immediately, even after having a C section, I was like, I would never be a candidate to have a vaginal birth because my body just caused all these issues to happen when in reality it was like the medications that
yeah,
was causing that. And so I think it's really good to do your research on, one, if you're being induced, what that medications do. Pitocin can increase heart rate. Even epidurals can cause some variations in heart rate for the child, for the kid or the baby. And so you just want to make sure you're well informed about the positives and negatives of each so that when you are asked, do you want this? Like, you can say yes or no, knowing you may have that outcome, right? You
hmm
may have an issue where the baby's heart rate is all over the place and you may have to go into C-section because I didn't know those things and I do regret kind of like going into that, not knowing and making all these medical decisions. So
yeah.
yeah.
That's also what the doula said too. Like, um, that pitocin can put
Hmm.
stress on the baby, and like normal contractions wouldn't do that.
Yeah. Yeah. Crazy, right?
Yeah. Another powerful way to set yourself up for a positive birth experience is to know your birth plan and goals, and find a medical team that will support you in these. So, you want to develop a birth plan, which is a vision for how you'd ideally like things to go, knowing what intervention you'd like to avoid or consider, and understanding your preferences for things like pain management, movement, even the atmosphere in your birthing space. This is something that I was like taking serious and like preparing an entire birth plan the first
Yeah.
time, but I didn't fully understand what I was selecting, why I was selecting. And then when I got
Hmm.
in the hospital, it just kind of goes however it goes. And I was like, yeah, like you don't really need a birth plan because you can just decide all at the hospital.
Yeah.
And so, yeah. But as important as having a birth plan is, it's just as crucial in choosing a medical team that truly respects these goals. So the reality is, proximity to a hospital or clinic shouldn't be your primary consideration. It's the team that will be with you in one of the most transformative moments of your life. If they're not supportive of the kind of experience you want, then it can add unnecessary stress and lead to interventions you might not want. So when you're discussing your birth goals with potential providers, take note of how they respond. Are they willing to work with you? Do they seem open to different labor positions, or are they encouraging you to feel free to delay certain interventions? If they aren't receptive to your questions, it's a sign that it might not be the right fit.
Yeah. This was interesting to me. Both pieces were interesting to me because I didn't do a birth plan with my first, which I'll get into with when we talk about our experiences. But I also never really thought about me being able to choose the people that I go into birth with, like, which is absolutely true. You have options. Obviously, people want things that are near them, which makes sense, but you don't have to. Proximity doesn't have to be the number one factor. Like, you definitely want to find a team that is supportive of your goals. And that's something I think I truly learned this time around. No, I didn't run into this necessarily, but a lot of hospitals don't do TOLACs or VBACs. So, like, if that were the situation where hospitals near me didn't, I would definitely search around to find a hospital that did, because that's something that's a part of my birth plan, birth goal. That's what I really want. And so I would probably travel an hour or two to make that happen. But I also think this is where advocacy comes in. So don't be afraid to ask for what you need or to speak up if you feel like things aren't aligning with your plan. I think this can be really hard to do because there does feel like a power difference. At least I always feel this when I go to the doctors, like they're in a position of power and knowing, where I feel like I'm not. And so I know a lot of other people also feel that way. So it can be hard to like voice what you want and your concerns and bring that up to them. But you deserve to have a voice in your birth experience. And having those conversations ahead of time with your team can build a sense of trust and lets you know you're on the same page when the big day comes. They'll already know your goals and you'll feel more comfortable advocating for yourself if something unexpected comes up. And this is, where doulas are great advocates if you can afford it. I think I'm okay at advocating for myself. Again, that power difference can be difficult for me sometimes. But then we're also in, like, when you're in labor, you're not mentally all, I don't want to say all there, but it's taking a lot of mental energy and load to just go through the whole process. And it's hard for you to like advocate for yourself, even if you're somebody who's great at it in the moment. And that's why a doula is really great, because they'll do that work for you, essentially.
Well, and too, your main like concern is this baby. So like if they're telling you
Hmm.
something that like needs to happen for the baby, you're like, okay, yeah, like take care of my baby, you know?
Yeah,
So
right.
you're not always
Exactly.
thinking about what the consequences are. Or I can talk a little bit about my experience with the birth plan. I kind of mentioned it above, but just I did go through making a birth plan, and then we like Austin and I had both decided on everything, but then when we went into the hospital, it was just kind of like that didn't exist anymore. And like the whole goal was just to go like as long as I could without an epidural,
Hmm.
which doesn't make any sense like in
Yeah.
terms of why that was just my plan. I did have other plan, like other things in my plan, like things I specifically didn't want done with the baby, and like those were
Hmm.
things I voiced up about. But yeah, I feel like I did all that research, I had the birth plan, and then I just like stopped thinking about birth and like
Yeah.
didn't talk or advocate
Did
for
you
it.
give it to, like, your nurses or anything? They, like, asked me for it when I was first, like, a copy of it.
Yeah, they asked me. I didn't bring it with me, so that was
Mm,
a fail there. I just had it on my phone, and then I like told them, like specifically, I wanted to try and go as long as I could without the epidural. You know, I didn't want whatever the Hep B for my baby or something like that.
mhm.
And so I just like told them, and they wrote it all down. But basically, they were like, "Okay, what's your birth plan? What's like, like what do you want?" You know.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Okay, yeah. Yeah. Because 'cause I've been getting really detailed with my, which I think it could be good. I think it would be nice to do, like, an episode on this eventually, but I've been getting really detailed, like, I want to labor. I don't wanna wear their gown. I wanna be in comfortable clothes. I wanna feel like I want my environment to feel much different than it did. I don't want to feel necessarily like I'm in a hospital. Like, I want to feel like I'm in a comfortable place for giving birth. And so I've been trying to lay out like environment and interventions and like all these things. Now, of course, your birth plan needs to be flexible. Like, I think that's a huge piece, especially that you're kind of bringing up. Like, you don't know what's going to happen. And every experience is different. Like, you can give a vaginal birth and then end up in C-section the second time, and it's just like, you go in with goals and plans and you just want to make sure that people are supportive of it. But of course, everybody needs to pivot if something happens. And I think that is an important piece because you can develop your birth plan, but it may not go
The way you want it.
according.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
But can we touch on why in the world it makes you feel like you need to be wearing this hospital gown? Because I was wearing the hospital gown and like
Mhm.
I totally get it. Like I want to be in the hospital gown when the baby comes out because you're like, there's just stuff everywhere, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I don't want to get that on my clothes. But also, like, I wasn't wearing a bra. Like, why couldn't I wear a nursing bra?
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah,
know.
yeah, yeah.
like,
I'm gonna wear a bra this time. Nobody
yeah.
said anything because it's again, it's a medical like I've been in surgeries, I've been and anytime they give you that gown, you're supposed to completely strip. And so I
hmm
had done that.
Oh, they told
And
me I had to. Yeah.
oh, they told you you did?
Yeah.
They didn't say anything to me, but I um just did. I didn't even ask. So I'm going to actually at my next appointment gonna ask if I can birth in whatever I want. Cause I bought something specifically for I don't care if they need to rip it off at some point. Like I bought it specifically
hmm
to feel comfortable in and I want to wear a bra and whatever. Like
Yeah. Wearing the bra would have made it so much better.
it literally would have like what the heck. But yeah, my experience, I didn't. And my goal was like to not have a C-section, and I didn't do any work to make sure that was a reality. I was just like, okay, I'm going to tell my healthcare professionals, and they seem to be on board of that
yeah.
goal, right? But of course, but I just really didn't set myself up for success. I didn't like make my environment feel like a place that I was comfortable giving birth in
hmm
and I didn't because I didn't have this plan, I didn't have anything to advocate for. I didn't, I just didn't have anything. Like it's a huge regret of mine. So I'm like going hard this time. But, I really went with the flow without educating myself, which I think ultimately led to the outcome I have. And I'm just completely changing it. I've been preparing like in all aspects. I've already started a birth plan. I every time I talk to my midwife, I bring like a set of questions that I've thought about that I have written down, so that they can answer. And then of course I'm getting a doula because I think she will be able to help me achieve my birth plan. And she doesn't work for the hospital. I think that's the biggest thing about the doulas is you're getting somebody that isn't a part of the hospital system that you're in and you're paying them completely separate and they're doing what you're paying them for. Whereas like
hmm
the hospital is just trying to get you to have the baby as quickly as possible, as make sure you and baby are healthy. And it's just they're able to like have a clear mind and help you through that process.
Well, and I don't think in the birth plan, and maybe it sounded like you consider this a little bit more, but I didn't consider the induction piece. Like, I wasn't
Hmm.
really told about why or when I would be induced until later on in my pregnancy, like third trimester, almost end of it. And they were like, oh, you're going to be induced because you did IVF. And then obviously, we didn't know I was going to be induced until after the ultrasound 3 days
Hmm.
earlier anyway. But that was something like I didn't even research or look into because I just
Right.
assumed I'm going to go into labor.
Well, and they told you too. Like the thing is these care teams as I think they're coming from a good place, but they're ultimately telling us like even in my last appointment, the midwife was like if you hit 40 weeks, we're going to have to induce. And the thing she doesn't understand is it's still my choice. I don't
hmm
have to induce, but they tell you that in a way where it seems like you don't have a choice. And so, like, that's the hardest part to work through is because, again, they're in this kind of position of power telling you this is going to happen. When in reality, like, you are the person that gets to
hmm
make that decision. Like, for IVF, like, I know people who didn't get induced. It was your choice, but like, I'm sure you didn't feel like that.
Yeah, no, like I felt like, oh, okay, like, like what the
Hmm.
frick does IVF have to do with getting
Yeah.
induced?
Right.
Which I did switch providers, and that is something like they just said, like, if there is a medical reason to induce and then you choose to decline it, then that might be a different conversation we would have,
Mhm.
so that you know all the risks. And then basically they would talk about induction once you got to 41 weeks. So they're not
Mhm.
telling you 41, they're telling you 40.
Yeah, she said 40.
Oh,
Yeah,
interesting.
which I that was like one midwife, and the one before basically said I didn't have to. So it's again, it's like you get rotation of people too that give you different answers, which does suck in a lot of these situations because I feel like you don't have like one person anymore and then they're the person that's on call to give birth. It's like, oh, whoever's in the hospital.
Yeah. But technically, I mean, they're probably only going to schedule you out a week or two, so you really don't have to
Hmm.
say no until you get to
Right. Yeah.
39, 40 weeks, right?
Yeah.
Like, no, sorry, we're going to wait longer.
Hmm. Well, I think it's interesting too that you switched because I feel like the first experience for you, you didn't have a team that were necessarily super supportive and like things that you were saying and doing, and you already feel that difference where you got to do the fresh test and you've gotten to do a lot of the things that you want to do even during pregnancy, and
Oh,
it
yeah.
just makes it so different having a team that supports you.
And I just asked the question, I had
Hmm.
asked the same exact question about the fresh test with my previous doctor, and they were like, oh, you got to do whatever the lab has. You can't do any alternatives. This
Hmm.
one, they're like, oh, yeah, the fresh test. Do you need me to give you instructions on how to order it? Like, it was
Yeah.
just very different
Hmm.
environment and reaction. So,
Yeah. Yeah, it helps. So, lastly, there are some steps you can take throughout your pregnancy to prepare your body physically for labor. So, these are just a few suggestions. Prenatal exercises, obviously, if approved by your doctor, like squats, pelvic tilts, Kegels, this helps with labor endurance, flexibility, that kind of thing. I've heard a lot of, at least my healthcare professionals, where basically they tell me every time I go in that I should be working out, that I should be doing some, type of prenatal exercises for myself because I think it just makes a world of a difference during labor.
it's hard though to work out when you're
It is very
exhausted.
hard.
And then you have a
Yeah.
toddler. I definitely feel like I'm more, what would you call it? Physically active this time. But
Mhm.
walking is very important. Helpful stretches can, especially when you have like pain in your hips, your back, pelvic floor, those stretches are really helpful. I didn't realize how like not flexible I was until I started doing some. Uh, yoga is very beneficial for flexibility, stress relief, and the importance of breathing techniques for labor. And then a balanced diet and staying hydrated can improve stamina and reduce swelling.
Yeah, another one which I learned about this time, I had no idea this was even a thing, is the perineal massage. They say to start it at 35 weeks. Did you do it last time?
No, I told Austin about it and like talked about it, but we never did
We
it.
never did it. Yeah, so I want to do that this time. So, if for those that don't know, it's where you massage your perineum daily to help it stretch more easily during birth. It could prevent you from tearing. Uh, so just look up ways to do this because you're supposed to just kind of do like a U motion. It's not like a full circle. So just research online. There's lots of stuff out there, but yeah, it just
I did
helps.
see Frida Baby had like a tool that allows you, because
Oh,
obviously you can't really see there
yeah.
when you're super pregnant, but a tool that helps you do that.
I'll have
Yeah.
to look into that. Yeah. I'm getting there. I got 3 weeks.
Oh my god.
I know. Another one is mile circuit. So a lot of times people do mile circuit towards the end of their pregnancy to induce labor, but these movements are really designed to get that baby into the optimal labor positioning. Spinning babies is another one that you can do just to make sure your baby is uh, in a good spot for physically being able to birth them. So definitely look these up if you haven't heard of them. For me, I didn't do a ton to prepare with my first. I did work out and I ate extremely good. I think I ate better then and drank a lot of water. I think I did that a little bit better last time just because my life feels like it's in chaos this time. But otherwise, I walked and I worked out minimally. But I this time bought myself a yoga ball and I do evening exercises. So I try to do it at least 3 to 4 times a week. I I'm trying to do more, but my back just hurts so bad some evenings that I'm just like, I'm done. But
Yeah.
I've been doing like pelvic tilts, lunges, rotations, which the pelvic tilts and some of the rotations seem to like help my back a little bit. So I should probably do more. And then I try to do some exercises most nights. I've been doing a lot of squats. I've also been doing arm works outs, which probably have nothing to do with labor, but my arms are like noodles, so I've been trying to do some of
Mine
that.
too. Why are our arms so weak?
I
Like
don't know.
I do like a small little arm exercise and my arms kill the next
And I'm
day.
like, oh. But I just think I'm just naturally more active this pregnancy because of my toddler, which is a good thing. But I do try to hit like a good amount of steps each day, which is a harder thing to do, like working from home. And then I do want to start the perineal massages this time too.
That's a good idea. I need to put back on my watch because I probably move so much and I don't even know. um,
Yeah.
but with my first baby, I didn't prepare much either. I did eat a lot better and drink a lot more water. I'm actually no, take that back. I ate better. I don't really know that I drank as much water as I do now. Like feel like I'm more into the water now. But I didn't give up my Coca-Cola
Yeah.
this pregnancy. So um I
You
feel
don't
like my
need to.
movement is a lot more with just having a toddler, but this baby just like sugar. And it's like almost like it grosses me out because I'm like, I don't want to eat that. Like, why do you want to eat
Yeah.
that? It's like, stop. Ugh. And I don't, one of the big things is like Skittles. Like, he wants to eat Skittles all the time. I don't even like Skittles that much, but we're eating Skittles all the time.
Oh, that's really
Um,
funny.
so whatever. But I think like I didn't do any workouts. I tried to get into the workouts with my last pregnancy, but I really didn't. This one, I tried to do some of the stretches just with the pelvic floor to keep that going, but
Hmm.
I'm still failing at working out and stuff like that. So I don't know. I'm at the point like now where like I really want to get into it because it's like okay, it's gonna start having an impact.
Yeah.
But I have heard that those like exercises to get the baby in the perfect position helps so much more because then they're like ready to come out. I guess
Hmm.
makes the process of coming out easier. I did
Yeah.
read a lot about yoga. And I have like I think it was like 3 or 4 videos someone shared about yoga, like the last like 5 6 weeks of pregnancy, and so I want to try that this time.
I hate
Um,
yoga. I try it every time and I just, I don't, I'm just like, I'm not a Zen person. I just can't.
well, I did I send you the link for that because I found it on
Hmm.
TikTok.
Yeah,
I did.
you did.
Okay, yeah, yeah. So I want to try one. If it doesn't, there
Yeah, I
was a
want to try
workout
too.
one at the bottom. There was 3 yogas and then a workout one.
Hmm.
So if they don't fit my needs, then I'll find something else. But
Yeah, I want to try it too. I should
I
maybe try it
also
this week.
want to try the raspberry leaf tea
Oh, yeah,
and
I
the
do that. I
dates.
drink that daily. Started at 30 weeks. I drink it daily.
Oh, you started at 30 weeks.
Hmm.
Oh, well, maybe I need to start doing that then because I only have 5 more weeks till 30 weeks.
Yeah, I started at 30 weeks and then I think they say like 35 weeks, maybe start doing two a day, which maybe I'll do that. I don't know.
The dates.
The dates. Yeah, I don't
I
like
did see
dates.
like you can make like the like there's like date bars or there's like
Hmm.
dates with like peanut butter.
Or
So,
smoothies. I heard people like can put them in smoothies if
oh
you like
yeah.
don't like the taste.
Yeah.
So I might try
So,
that too.
but yeah, I maybe I'll do the perineal massage too. I
Hmm.
heard was it olive oil
Yeah, you can use
for down there because it's like
you can use like natural oils. Coconut oil, I think, is the one I've heard a lot.
yeah, to help with that too.
Hmm.
But yeah,
Yeah,
those are all of our oh, those are all of our things.
that's all.
So I think hopefully this episode helped you when we talk about ways to prepare for birth. So understanding the process, understanding why medical intervention happens, knowing your birth plans, having a medical support team that does support you, and then also preparing your body because a lot of it, and I heard this somewhere, a lot of labor is not like it's mostly a mental thing.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
you're thinking about it as like a scary, painful thing and you're going through it, but really like every contraction is getting you closer to your baby and it's more of a positive experience and your body goes into labor based off of the oxytocin. So you want to continue thinking of it as a mentally thinking about it as a positive experience. So
Mhm.
we hope this was helpful with our experiences and things that we found are helpful. But I think we're going to go into our mom eras now.
Yeah, I can start with mine because I already kind of mentioned it during the cold open, but it's really just that like sleeping delay, and we're just trying. She's fine once we get her down, but this is just the era we're in, and it's. I don't even want to say it's like a fight every night, but it's just like her thing lately too is we'll go up. So I think I mentioned this before that we do our nighttime routine like mostly downstairs, and then once she's like ready, we're carrying her up and putting her in her crib. And
Mhm.
I've just struggled to carry her up at this point in my pregnancy. I'm like my back hurt. It's just tough. So Rob's been like doing that last piece with me. So he'll carry her up. I carry like her friends because she sleeps with her little kitties and Mickey or whatever. She's becoming that toddler where there's like a bunch of stuff in the crib.
Mhm. Yeah,
um,
same. Us too.
but she started this thing where she wants a big hug. So then she'll like wrap herself around and she'll just stay there. And then she wants a big hug, Dada. And then you put her down and she's like, another big hug. And
Oh,
like, how do you say no to a hug?
I know.
But yeah, this is like, she's just finding creative ways to just delay us from bringing her upstairs and finishing the nighttime routine and putting her in our crib and leaving. And so we're just like trying to find compassionate ways to work through this and to get her to sleep. So that's our current era. Well,
Yeah.
what's yours?
Axel always would drink his milk like in bed and then go to sleep, right?
Hmm.
Well, now he'll like start drinking his milk and then he'll see that we're like getting ready to leave and then he
Hmm.
stands up and wants like a hug individually from each of us.
Yeah.
Um and then he wants a kiss.
Hmm.
And then like literally half the time I walk out and he's still standing there and I'm like, "Okay, we love you, buddy. We'll see you
Uh huh.
tomorrow." And then like in seconds he's sitting down, but it's just funny.
Does he not call out? Because like that'll happen. She'll be standing up, and then you start to glow. She's like, "Mama, mama, 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 mama," da, 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 da," and then like is
He doesn't
calling
call
out.
out. He might say like mama or dada, and then I'll just like I reframe that and just be like, "Mama loves you" or "Dada
Hmm.
loves you." Like we're
Yeah,
not
yeah,
coming
we
back
do that
in.
too, but it doesn't
Yeah.
help. She's like, "Come in, come in." I'm like, "No." It's like something we found that helps is Rob's been doing this thing where like he'll leave first and he'll go downstairs and he'll start talking over the camera and he'll say, "Good night, Eleanor. I love you," and she'll be like, "Dada, love you too." And it's just like really that's for some reason been able to get us out the door without her like causing a ruckus. But yeah.
Yeah, or sometimes I leave and he's crying, and I told myself because it woke up in the middle of the night the other night. He was crying, and I'm like, well, if I make it through going to the bathroom and he's still crying, then I'll go
Mhm.
back in there. And like I didn't even finish like going to the bathroom, and he's already like stopped, and I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, well, I guess we're good.
Uh-huh.
But my mom era is Great Wolf Lodge. So we are headed to Great Wolf Lodge, which
Woohoo.
is a water park thing, I guess. I don't know. I haven't been there in a very long time.
Yeah, indoor, right?
Indoor water park, adventure for kids. I feel like it's similar to like Kalahari, like the other adventure things.
Mhm.
I don't know, whatever. But I did get like the little pup package, so he gets to make a free Build a Bear, a free scoop
Cute.
of ice cream, and then a free candy thing. And yeah, so we're going to go do that this weekend. And we are also going to stop and see my cousin because he's about an hour away
Oh,
in
nice.
the hospital for his transplant where we are. So
Is he
that
still
will be
waiting?
still waiting.
Oh, wow.
It's
Okay.
been about a month and a half
Crazy.
almost. So yeah, we're going to stop and see him. And yeah, it'll be a good like little birthday weekend for Axel, even though we're 2 months away from his birthday. But I didn't want to travel when I was super pregnant. So
Yeah. It's a good time to do it now.
yeah. So yeah,
That'll be
that's
fun.
what
I'm
we're doing.
excited to hear about it because I think Eleanor would really like something like that eventually.
Yeah, I just remember when I was a kid and I went, it was so kid focused.
Hmm.
And so I thought, like, okay, it's a good idea. Let's try it out. So we'll
Yeah.
see. We'll let you know our feedback.
Ooh, how exciting.
Yeah. Well, thank you everyone for joining us on the Mom Era podcast this week. We hope this was helpful and just a bunch of tips in terms of preparing for labor. Follow us at momera_podcast on, I always want to say at Gmail, but on TikTok and Instagram. And then you can email us at momerapodcast@gmail.com. We'll see you next week or
Bye
in 2
bye.
weeks.
See you later.